Welcome back. We are going to start our second panel now. The discussion will be on the role of technology infrastructure to ensure our European prosperity and sustainable future. We will have 3 panelists with us. We have just heard in the previous panels that, we would need technology and research to come out of the economic recovery. We discussed industrial ecosystem, the different technology roadmap exercise. And I think here in this environment, technology infrastructure are a key part of both the European industrial policy as well as the research policy. And EARTO has been working for many years on technology infrastructure, and we are so glad to see a new action on in the European research area, the ERA, on developing a new strategy on technology infrastructure. So I think it will be very interesting to discuss the future development in this topic. So let's hear first from our members what their views are on technology infrastructure. So let's launch a small video.
Research and technology are essential components of the European innovation landscape. As an RTO, we work on both. And the technology infrastructures and the technology helps us to adapt our research to the market needs, to scale up and prepare the process to scale it up for our partners. The technology infrastructure like this one requires a lot of skills to manage, and it helps us to work with our partners, both on digital innovation lines and physical innovation lines.
Small and large companies rely on our infrastructures to compete successfully at the global level. They access technology for innovative products and services, they get to market faster, and they reduce the risk of their research and innovation investments. They are a vital part of Europe's technology transfer and co-creation capacity, and they deliver impact. They play a pivotal role in supporting our industrial value chains, and they will be key to Europe's sustainable recovery and to strengthening our resilience in the long run.
Technology infrastructures need high and long-term investment over all their life cycle. Initially, at the planning and construction phase, but after that also to cover the running operational cost, and finally to ensure they remain competitive and accessible to all, especially to SMEs. In Europe, there is a lack of relevant technology infrastructures in certain areas, and these gaps must to be filled if we want to ensure European technology sovereignty in our strategic industrial value chains. To do that, we need the right regulatory framework to explore new public and private partnerships models to promote transnational cooperation and leverage investments for technological infrastructures.
Today there's a critical momentum for the EU, together with member states, to be more ambitious. We need to jointly develop a European strategy for technology infrastructures. We at EARTO have 3 main recommendations. First, we need to prioritise technology infrastructures at the EU and national levels. Their vital role in research and innovation ecosystems must be clearly recognised, including in EU industrial policy and in national recovery investments. Second, we need to ensure the creation and long-term sustainability of technology infrastructures, and we have to avoid gaps. For that, we need to increase cooperation and foster a strategic foresight dialogue. And third, to overcome the innovation divide, we need to support pan-European access to technology infrastructures of all sizes. We need to boost their use in EU projects and link technology infrastructures together at the EU level. Technology infrastructures are the backbone of dynamic RD&I ecosystems. Now is the time to use their full potential.
So very interesting to hear about technology infrastructure and the roles of RTOs also managing those technology infrastructures. So let me introduce our next panelist. First, Anna Panagopoulou, who is the Director of Research and Innovation Outreach within the DG Research and Innovation of the European Commission. Anna, thank you very much for joining us today. Then we have Josef Wuensch, who is the Senior VP of R&D Materials at BASF, and he's also the chairman of the SusChem board. So who will have the view and the perspective of a user of those platforms. So very happy to have you on board, Josef.
Thank you, Muriel, for having me.
And then we have Pia. Pia Sandvik is the CEO of RISE. RISE is the largest RTO in Sweden. Happy to have you with us, Pia.
Happy to be with you.
So what is your first reaction to the video? Let's start with Anna.
So my first reaction to the video is that it said it all. Actually, it said it all. I'm very happy with this video. I'm convinced myself from the policy-making point of view. And it's true that over the last years, it has shown that the importance of long-term investments that we have to make in people and infrastructures, generating the fundamental knowledge that we need and the technologies. And now this is the moment that we have to look back at it in the context of the pandemic, in the context of the green and digital transitions, what we can do more in this context. So it is extremely important that we have to look at the role or the reinforced role of technology infrastructures in this context, in particular as one part of the big network that we have to establish in order to provide the knowledge that is needed by the industry in order to be able to scale up research results and to bring them to the market and to provide solutions for the society. How we have to build up these networks? In the modern societies, we need to have mechanisms to transform scientific knowledge in innovation. We need new mechanisms for faster and more efficient networks that can deliver innovation to tackle our most pressing problems. I think we have seen with COVID-19 how important is that. The research and technology organizations plays a key role in these networks. They are not only the operators of technology infrastructures and research infrastructures, they also establish a strong link between the academia and the industry. And this is something that we need absolutely. It's one of the key priorities. The new European Research Area Policy is one of the key priorities also in our Horizon Europe program. And most importantly, what we expect from RTO is to help establishing the trust that the SMEs may have and the industries may have in order to at the highest barriers and to request the services from technology infrastructures in order to gain this trust to the research results. And here I would like a little bit to speak on the role of technology infrastructures, but also on the role of the research infrastructures. Since I took over this file, it's very clear that sometimes the differences are very tiny, and research infrastructures, they can provide services in the context of technology infrastructures and can play also a very important role. So research infrastructures are those also that are creating the new knowledge and they enable curiosity-driven research. However, research infrastructures have a large share in technology-driven research, and thus they can deliver services addressing the higher technology readiness level. So together with technology infrastructures, they can provide a continuum of services across the entire knowledge creation and value chain. And I would like to repeat what you said, Muriel. We are in the context of policy making. We have a new European industrial strategy. We have a new European research area. We have new policies and strategies about use of data. So there are so many different political initiatives in the European Commission that we have to bring them together. And in the middle of that, we can see a new important strategic role of the technology infrastructures. So we have all the critical elements, world-class universities and excellent researchers that they could move from the university to the academia and from the academia from the university to the industry and from the industry to the technology infrastructures. Excellent research and technology infrastructures. And also we have the funding instruments, but they are not a lot, but the legal instruments, but they're available and we have to use them in the best possible way and to prioritize adequately.
Thank you very much, Anna, for that. I'm sure that Josef wants to react, being a very active member of Business Europe, with who we have very great collaboration. And also in the board of SusChem, you have technology platforms who also make European roadmaps. And in those roadmaps, you certainly have a view on the technology infrastructure that the industry needs to use and how they are going to be available. So it would be very interesting to have your take from that perspective on technology infrastructure.
Yeah, thank you, Muriel. I only can echo what Anna was saying, that the video said already quite a bit. Now on your comment, Muriel, that the industry is the user of the RTOs, I only can confirm, and I think we have a great history working together, institutes, RTOs, and academia, and that really dates back even into the days of the earliest 20th century when ammonia was developed in Berlin, with industry together. Then in the midst of the 20th century, Ziegler-Natta polyethylene, and then at the end, MP3 development at Fraunhofer Institute. And that's fantastic. But I have to say that industry over the last 2 decades is developing at a different space. We are much more driven by financial markets, short-term needs. RTOs, we put a lot of excellent clusters for good reason into it, and please don't see black or white. The graphene would be one example. The graphene flagship here. We allocated lots of funds in there. Fantastic research was done, and somehow we got a little bit detached between industry, market needs, quick response, and excellence clusters. And looking at the burning needs of society and environmental pollution, climate change, the Green Deal, where we all stand behind it, we definitely have, to work much more closer together, work on the infrastructure. I think with all the demanding requirements that we have, electromobility was mentioned, we have to consider waste as a raw material, not as a pollutant. We have to assess different technologies. For mid-sized companies, small, medium entities, it is not doable to assess all these individual technologies and pick the best one for them. We have to work very close together, and that's my pitch of today. Let's go back to the pattern of having a collaborative spirit, working between RTOs, academia, and industry to quickly leverage the skill set and be successful in the marketplace.
Thank you very much, Josef. I hear you on the wording of collaboration again. And I think here the EARTOs, for example, in the example of graphene, you try to pick up what was done by more basic research institutes to go up to the line, and that's always a challenge, and that's the work of EARTOs. So maybe Pia wants to pick up on the challenge of EARTOs also in running and managing those infrastructure. Pia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Muriel. First of all, I want to thank you so much for a really good movie. It said everything on that. You really pinpointed the important things. And I would actually like to start on TUDs or technology infrastructures. For me, they are open innovation arenas, and it really connects all the parts of the innovation system that has been said already. But I think it's important to understand that it's not just about technology, it's also about brains that come together. They come from academia, they come from RTOs, from the rest of the society, from industry, of course, and they are built on the need for accelerating technology and competitiveness of industry, I would say. That is very, very important, I think. And we can really see an acceleration of technology development during COVID-19. And I think that these infrastructures are so important in order to be able to verify, to secure different technology solutions or system solutions even, in order to be able to know that you can scale up and go into market faster than you've done before. And I think we RTOs, we really welcome that the Commission now has really an initiative in order to want to establish a new governance structure for this. We have had it for research infrastructures for ages, so it's time for technology infrastructure now. Why are RTOs? a good host for technology infrastructures. And I would pinpoint a few things there. First of all, RTOs are long-term actors that really can they can be part of the investment. They can also invest in the environment regarding researchers and knowledge around the infrastructures. They also have a stability over time, I would say, and are working in an environment where all the stakeholders meet. And I think that is really, really something important in this issue. Because it's also about collaboration between these actors. If you should really create a good technology infrastructure, you have to have different actors working in them in order to sort of secure the right skills and the right expertise as well. But I also, if I go back to the European level again, I would say that we really need to protect the single market and strengthen European competitiveness. And then, therefore, we really have to make it possible for industry in all the member states to gain access to these technology infrastructures. And here, RTOs and the networks that we have together, we can really show where we have the best infrastructures depending on different areas. Are we talking electromobility? Where should we go then? Batteries, hydrogen, for example. But also, of course, one last important thing is that in order to create this that is so needed, we also, of course, have to have a need for funding, stable funding, in order to create new technology infrastructures. Because at the end of the day, these open technology infrastructures is important for industry because that's a way to share risk in investments.
Thank you very much, Pia. Maybe that brings me to the question I have for you three. I think one of the discussion, and it was also in the very interesting European Commission staff working document on technology infrastructure, we are now facing the question of not only to create the new infrastructure, so we are discussing, for example, supercomputing, but we also have the need to manage those which are running and also upgrade those ones so that we can face new challenges. That's what we're discussing, for example, on microelectronics or on batteries. We have already very good clean rooms that needs to go even step further, and that's where, for example, the microelectronic alliances come from. What do you see the challenges there, the barriers also for this, and where it should be picked up at EU level? So maybe, Anna, what did you identify and you are looking forward into your new European strategy?
Yes, it is a new European strategy, as you said, Muriel, and I will welcome to intensify this dialogue that we have today in the more in-depth in order to see what are the elements that they have to be in this new European strategy. But of course, there have been already some key elements that have been identified as important barriers, like long-term sustainability related to the technology area and technology infrastructures and adequate sustainable funding models. I think it was said by Pia how we will be able to finance these technology infrastructures, but also we need to have a supportive policy environment, human resources, and a joint approach across Europe in terms of prioritization, funding, and accessibility. I think Pia said all. The challenges are there. Long-term funding is certainly among the biggest challenges. But because we know that we have scarcity of resources, at least of the public sector, and of course the private sector has to identify where to put the investments, it is very important that the prioritization of the activities in the technology infrastructures and the prioritization in those areas that they are of public, European, and private interest as the key areas of funding are well done. And this is one first important aspect that I believe that we have to do, and we will try to do it in the context of the European research area overall, where we'll try to identify where research and technology infrastructure will focus their activities. So it's the first time that we'll try to have a directionality on priorities where we can invest in research and innovation. We can look at it in the context of the new industrial roadmaps that we are going to put in place, and we'll try to transfer the knowledge that is created from the basic research, from the activities of research and innovation high level to the industry. But we have also to see what are the funding gaps and needs in order to ensure the sustainability of the technology infrastructures. And there I would like to say, that is not new, that we, as Pia said as well, we finance a lot of the conception, the construction and the upgrading phases of the technology infrastructures, and we are not yet at the level to finance the long-term operational costs. And I think this is the debate that we will have in the years to come, whether this is something that we may consider, or whether there will be more innovative ways, funding instruments to do that. I think I don't have the reply at this level, but it's something that I will be happy to engage in the discussion. Last but not least, I would like to highlight that apart of funding, apart from prioritization, activities in the context of the regulatory barriers are extremely important. And there, I'm happy to say that we have advanced a lot in the context of the General Block Exception Regulation, along with the important projects of common European interest, and the framework of state aid for research and development and innovation, which provide a legal framework which is much easier to run the activities of the technology infrastructures, and it will be benefit also for the financial sustainability of the technology infrastructures.
Very interesting. So many topics to discuss and pick up, Anna. So I'm sure my members will be happy to have further discussion also for this strategy. I think these are the key issues. Maybe before I go to Pia on the practical side of the management and the looking for future investments and how that may be difficult, I would be interested to hear from you, Josef, on the environment where you are in SusChem as well. What has been the discussion on your technology roadmap and the access from industry or to this technology infrastructure?
Yeah, Muriel, since you mentioned the roadmap, at SusChem we had developed, SusChem, by the way, is a technology platform, European technology platform, where industry, academia, and research organizations are bundled, and we are developing, next to white papers, also roadmaps, or we call it agenda, the Sustainable Innovation Research Agenda that was published end of 2019. But we're also discussing what is hampering a little bit the implementation of that. And let me mention here 3 points. I think the first one is not really surprising. It's speed, bureaucracy. I think in the European community, we do not have enough time anymore to apply for grants. So we did at SusChem a study 2 years ago. How long does it really take from the proposal to getting the grant, time to grant? And still, it is between 270 and 320 days. So that's almost 1 year. And, just to picture that, if BioNTech, for example, would have applied for a grant in the early days of COVID, they would be ready now to start in the lab, but we are vaccinating already. So therefore, speed is of utmost importance. The second point, and that might be a recommendation for discussion and the strategy, is the digital infrastructure. We recommend among the RTOs to build clusters, RTOs working in the same area, with similar capabilities or complementing capabilities, to form clusters. That first provides that we have a transnational European effort. Second, what is required next to the IP and legal framework, I think we need to have data exchange. So one data set is created here, another data set is used in a different place to work together, to be successful together. And last but not least, I think the skill set of the technology infrastructure needs to be adjusted. I think we have great areas, cloud computing, microelectronics, a few were mentioned this morning, but with the Green Deal, and again, we are completely committed. We have so many technology options, and that applies for different industry segments. We need, that's a huge investment in the technology infrastructure, and we need to make that accessible for mid-cap and small companies as well as big companies. So therefore, we need to, in order to foster the competitiveness within the European Union against China, against North America, we need to provide that park and come up with a manufacturing infrastructure and technology on biotech materials, steel processing to be successful and to foster the collaboration. Last but not least, I would like to mention that sometimes bureaucracy is hindering us as well, and we are standing all behind the strategy for sustainability, chemical strategy for sustainability. We want we support that. We have a strategy for sustainability. Yet I have to say, with the document that's on the table, which is rather banning, putting another layer of bureaucracy on top of a well-established landscape of regulatory framework. And I dare to say in Europe, we have an excellent framework of protective regulatory work that is acknowledged worldwide. Look at REACH, that is used in Korea, for example, the South Korean REACH concept. And now with the essential use, for example, we're putting another layer on top of that. And to explain that maybe a little bit, e-mobility, for example, is perceived as has a positive notion. It's clean, it's the transportation segment. But in the battery system, you have nickel, you have cobalt. And nickel in a form, we know that for 70, 80 years, is cancerogenic as well as cobalt. But the industry has learned to manage that risk. We are housing it. Batteries are used in laptops, in computers, are used in lawnmowers, in portable devices like cell phones. Nobody's biting into it. That's the habit. So instead of having that assessment done and binding brains to argue and justify what is already regulated, we are now focusing or using the brains of people, the scientists, to justify what has been regulated as well. Another example would be, and that's the last one then, isocyanate chemistry. Of course, that is a hazardous material, but industry has learned and worked and regulatory has approved it to manage that risk. And we can ship it, we can put it into an application where no isocyanate is present anymore. And it's used for matrices, it's used for shoe soles, it's used for different, many applications, for furniture example. And now we have to reconsider the whole thing. So we are binding forces that we could use to solve problems.
Okay, thank you very much, Josef, for this take. Maybe we can, with Pia, pick up a couple of topics that were mentioned by Josef. The fact of maybe having networks of RTOs in particular areas. We do have some example of that. For example, the one who comes into my brain is on the robotics. We have Robotinet. So we have other also industrial alliances. So the fact that we may have to look at per sector and type of topic, maybe pool the RTOs together. And the other mention of Josef was looking a little bit also ambitious in terms of sustainability. Do you have some take also on this, Pia?
Yeah, for sure I have. And I would also pick up, Josef said it's about speed. And I think it's speed in at least two dimensions. First of all, we have to have speed in technology development in order to be competitive. And the other one is speed. When we have recognized the need for investments, then it has to be fast. We put up an electromobility lab here in Sweden now. It will be actually running up it takes 2 years now. But the decision on an important project of common European interest was taken 2 years ago, and has been preparation for many years before that. China has already built 3 of these or something like that. So we really have to be faster. But to answer your question, Marielle, I would say that RTOs can for sure build alliances, because I think it's really important that we prioritize within EU, because we can't do everything in every region. So we really have to to look at the things that we have already. Could we share more of the infrastructure that we have? But we also have to set up processes for prioritizing new investments in new technology infrastructures. And I think we can have some lessons learned from how this has been done in ESFRI context as well, in the research infrastructures. I also think because RTOs can really, I see the RTOs as the backbone in these technology infrastructures, as I mentioned earlier. I would also pick up what Anna said regarding funding models, because for the moment it's easier but not easy to get funding for the investment in a technology infrastructure. But as you said, Anna, as well, regarding the business model when we're actually running this technology infrastructure, nobody's prepared to pay. So the business models that we are building on now I think it's quite a good model, but it has its weaknesses, is that industry pays. If they use these open technology infrastructures, then they pay for the time they spend in them. So I think that's actually a long-term way to build a good business model. But I think you also have to combine that with some kind of funding models regarding operations as well, because I think sometimes you have to take more risk in the technology infrastructures than to be actually really sure that you will have full payment for the operations in that sense. And one final remark, I'm talking about open technology infrastructures. That doesn't mean that you can work with strong confidentiality for an industry partner. I think that's obvious for all of you, but I think I have to say it anyway. So they are open in the sense that everybody can come there and use it. I normally say that it's like booking time at the hairdresser. So I think that's also important. But there is something about the prioritization process that I think that the RTOs can have a really important role to play together with industry regarding new ones.
Thank you very much, Pia. Before closing, I have one last question, and not from Slido, but from one of our members. So let's look at a small video.
The Łukasiewicz Research Network, created in 2019, is the third largest network of RTOs in Europe in terms of number of employees, and the leading research organization in Poland, as well as being a member of EARTO. With almost 8,000 staff and 32 research institutes located in 12 cities across Poland, we collaborate with the wide range of partners to provide attractive, comprehensive, and competitive game-changing technologies and business solutions. This is my question to the panelists. How do you make sure that Europe has the right set of technology infrastructures to boost our innovative capacity, and that these infrastructures are accessible across borders?
So as it says, Łukasiewicz is one of our biggest members in Poland, a very active new network, which have actually pooled resources of RTOs. It says 2018, so you see that the sector is also keeping changing. Maybe some reaction on this from Anna?
Yes, how? The how. I think always when we have the panels, the most important question is how. So I would like to reply this by responding a little bit to what it was said before by Josef and Pia. First of all, removing bureaucracy. We do our best. I think in particular on funding through grants, we have done a lot, Josef, but we can do more. And we can do more, and I'm promising you that we are trying to do more, even to facilitate the conditions for receiving grants from the European Commission. But in the context of what you, Josef, said, we still have to make sure that the society trusts us. And I do understand what you said, that there have been regulations in place why the scientists should spend time to evaluate this that has been already in place, but under the current conditions, I believe that we have to follow some principles and values, and we still have to make sure that the society see Europe as a place where replies through scientific evidence to their questions in order to trust the results of the industry at the end. So bureaucracy is one point that we have to address. Second, Pia put it very well. We need to deliver, as we have done for ESFRI, new technology infrastructures. Where are the gaps? What is missing? And to do that, we have to do, first of all, a mapping of what we have, how we can bring existing technology infrastructures in a cluster approach to work together and to make them provide services in the concrete priority areas that has been already agreed. So gap analysis, bringing infrastructure together. ESFRI is a very good example, what we can do more, what we can do better, what we can attract better. Access to research, to technology infrastructures, through the European research area policies, of providing access to researchers, to industry, to SMEs on the activities of the research infrastructures and technology infrastructures is a priority. And there is a new regulation that is currently under discussion on the data governance, so that we can provide the data, but under conditions, open access, making sure that we are not giving up our sovereignty through access to data. So yes, more data to SMEs, no data to industry, but always protect the European interest as well. And coordination mechanisms, a strong coordination mechanism to be established at European level in order to promote the new strategy of technology infrastructures is very important. And investments, we have to look at the model. Pia, as you said, it's true that the industries benefit from the use of research infrastructures. They have to pay for the operations, but let's see whether there is a different type of model that we can put in place. And last but not least, collaboration and working together to develop and to deliver this new strategy with the RTOs, with the industry, with the member states. This is my takeaway.
Thank you very much, Anna, for this takeaway. Joseph, maybe you want to answer shortly and give your last key remembering of this discussion?
Anna, thank you for commenting on that one. Absolutely appreciate it. And I know that many of the SusChem members, as well as we, BASF, we have put up quite a bit of proposals that is just to be handed in. And I might be taught differently when I see the return coming in very quickly. But to answer the question, I think the trends or the topics for the next 10 to 15 years are set. Clean, connected cars, autonomous driving eventually, hydrogen infrastructure, green electricity, all things fostering, accompanying the Green Deal, also a low carbon dioxide emission, and cybersecurity, the health system, smart health, smart cities. I think that technology is the answer for that one, and the RTOs will play an imminent and very important role in providing solutions to that. But therefore, you know, I'm forward-looking. What Pia was saying, you know, to have that tight collaboration, to have a spirit of working together, finding solutions together, using across nations. And I re-emphasize here, why don't we form clusters where we can collaborate on a European scale together, tie in everyone who is looking for that kind of technology change, and scale it up jointly. And Pia, we will have the money available if we see there is the possibility to change a linear into a circular economy. And I emphasize here economy, it's also an economical aspect there. So therefore, if we develop the things that are economically doable, and we need the RTOs for that, we will launch it, we will scale it, and money will be available for that.
Thank you very much, Joseph. So the last word of this panel goes to Pia. Pia, I think you have the challenge to, you know, see what were the key issues you think you will take away and can give back to Anna for the technology infrastructure and the new strategy that has to be set up at European level.
I must say thank you to both Anna and Josef. What you're saying is like music. It's like listening to a concert. So, but I would really, I have two things that I would end with. I think it's really important because Josef, you said it. We know the technology challenges that we are facing and that we have to solve. So we have to take. That is the baseline to start with. And then the dialogue with industry is so important because it's the need of industry. That's where the growth will be created. What are the needs? What are the technology challenges that they are facing in order to be able to be competitive? It's so important with that dialogue and form it on different levels. And then together with EU as well regarding funding, how can we really get a system where we can be faster, more relevant in order to have the solutions in place for next generation technology? And the last thing is, it has been so important to fund the research infrastructures, and that has been a sort of base in all the programs of Europe for such a long time. I think it's time now that we say that Horizon Europe needs to fund technology infrastructure at the same level as we are funding research infrastructure. I think that's quite a modest goal. Could I say that? So I'm really, we need this so much, and there's so much going on, and you've said many of the other things that I wanted to conclude with as well. So I stop here, and I'm really looking forward to the continuing dialogue regarding strategy and prioritization and new fantastic technology infrastructures.
Thank you very much, Pia. I have to thank you, Anna, Josef as well. We're going to close now the panel. Thanks for taking the time for us today. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Bye-bye.